Hi, my name is Paul Kautza. I'm the Director of Education for TDWI, and we're here at our Las Vegas conference. I'm fortunate enough to be joined by Shawn Rogers, who's Vice President of Research for EMA. Shawn, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me. Always enjoy our conversations.
Well, we've had a number of them over the years.
Yeah, sure.
And this one should be fun because you're going to be delivering my opening keynote in Chicago on May 12th, and we've got a featured track for that conference called Business Driven BI. You know, we've been around shadow IT and shadow IT coming out of the closet, all the different things around that. But when you and I were talking about this keynote, there were some interesting things as we look at the new generation of business professionals and things coming out that are going to be very interesting. And I'd like if you could share a little bit on what some of the thoughts are you've got going into that keynote.
Well, you know, you and I had some fun with it when we were kind of crafting the message around the business-driven BI side of it, and I think we ended up titling the talk, "You Can Run But You Can't Hide."
Yes.
And that's certainly what's happening with IT right now. Is this is something we've talked about for a long time, and I think it's been held at arm's length for a while, right? And I think IT has protected their turf and maintained the power structure that they needed to do a lot of what they do. But at the same time, I think a shift is really kind of undeniable at this point. And business is controlling more of the budgets, and they're also getting exposed to technologies in a way that they didn't before. You know, the buying cycle used to be the vendors to IT, then the IT would expose what could happen, state of the possible or state of the art with the end users at that point. Now, because there's all these new enabling technologies that are exciting and evolving so quickly, the business is latching onto this. You know, we did research at EMA recently on big data, just as a for instance, and while IT still has a big voice in sponsoring those projects, finance, marketing, and sales were right on their heels with actually putting budget dollars into play and also sponsoring and advocating for those projects. So, you know, big data is a new technology where IT is giving space to the business. So, you know, another area you and I have talked about a lot is how cloud impacts being able to put more power in the hands of users. And then, you know, back on the BI platforms that we're so used to kind of monitoring is this whole discovery and self-service function that we see. And once again, that's enabling the business to do work not so much in orchestration with IT, but almost around it sometimes. I think IT still plays a role here, and I think that that's what we're going to discuss in Chicago is where's the new balance? You know, where has the shift taken place, and why sometimes can that be a positive for IT, and why, of course, is it a positive for the business? And I think we all agree that having business have a bigger voice is a good thing. It fills that gap you and I have always talked about, and that gap between IT and business has always been there, but I think the balance of it's shifting.
Yeah, and the gap has always been there, but I think one of the fundamental shifts is with the technology pieces, with the business being, and also the business people coming into the market now, not being afraid of any of that technology as you look into that. But I think the opportunity is ripe for that collaboration and that balancing, if you will, between business and IT, because as Jill Deshay said in our Monday keynote here, everybody's talking about the technology, we're still forgetting the data and the data piece of that.
Yeah, and the data piece is obviously something that's driving a lot of that innovation. You know, I'm here in Las Vegas at this event right now teaching your social data analytics course, and social data is sort of a new and sort of sexy, exciting sort of data source for people to try to understand how can I add value to the insight I need for my business by augmenting it with social information. And I like the fact that you touched on the users as well. You know, and you and I started in this business when we looked at data warehousing architectures years ago, and as BI kind of moved into the space, BI was only driven by a handful of people with a very specific skill set. And now I look at some of the research and work that we do where we're watching as many as 7 or 8 different classifications of users, all the way from the hoodie-wearing data scientists, if you want to be sort of funny about that, on up to the line of business executives. And in between, all of these people are playing rather unique roles with our data and with the systems that support it. And that's sort of new and interesting, and it's put a lot of pressure on the systems and on IT, and at the same time, these new people have new expectations, and I think it's a culture shift as well. And I think that just shows the maturity and the sophistication of our industry. More people want to have access to. There's that democratization of information. I like the fact that the more diverse your user group is of insight tools like BI or analytics, I think the better functionality you get, the better answers you get, because the more people that are involved in those decisions, quite often from a collaborative standpoint, can move your business along a lot faster.
And that's where I think when we play around with the titles and you can run but you can't hide is really kind of appropriate, because I think if we try to keep our head in the sand as an IT professional, it's not going to be pretty. We need to be able to figure out what the new level set is, what the new norm is, and how both sides of the house bring the value that they can.
Yeah, and I just think right now they need to be accepting of the change. It doesn't mean reduction in power necessarily. I think it means more of a shift. I think IT is going to be responsible for things in a different manner than they used to be, but that doesn't mean they're any less important. Most of the projects that you and I see in this space still require intervention and support and enablement from IT, but the delivery of the tools or the reports or the insight is kind of shifting towards more powerful end users, and I think that's okay. One of the groups I like to follow is the role of like marketing analysts and business analysts, and how they become kind of that bridge between IT and the information there and what the line of business folks need, because they understand the data better, right? And they know where to find it, and they can bring that information. And that's just one of many examples of how the roles are enabling the change. And I think, I call it the Google generation. They're coming in with an expectation of simpler to use tools, access to more data. They expect collaboration because that's how they run the rest of their life. And I think that IT is struggling with that as well, this new breed of knowledge person in our environment. So yeah, we're going to hit on all those topics during the keynote, and I'm looking forward to it. You and I, we like kind of irreverent topics. And I think while it's irreverent to a certain level, I think it's also real to a lot of the people that'll be in the audience in Chicago. And the mix here at TDWI will have those business people in that room, and they'll have the IT professionals in the room, and I think we'll have fun with the topic.
I do too, and I think it's a very relevant time for it right now, and throughout that conference, it'll be May 11th through the 16th, we'll have about 50 full and half-day classes, a number of them touching on different components of how to get business and IT to work together and all those pieces. But I thank you for joining us today, and I look forward to seeing you in Chicago, and I'd like for all of you to join us in Chicago May 11th through May 16th. And this is Paul Kautza from TDWI. Thank you very much.